Hello, I'm Dave Peach, and this is the Crawfordsville Peachcast, sponsored by Tri-County Bank, your community bank since 1892. See them in person or at tricountybank.net. Tri-County Bank, member FDIC, and equal housing lender. Crawfordsville Peachcast. I'm Dave Peach, and I'm joined by
Dave Meyer. Can I say it, Dave? Hello, Todd.
Hey, and Central Indiana Rubber Products. They are one of the sponsors of our show, along with our presenting sponsor, Tri-County Bank, your community bank, since 1892. Dave, it's always great to talk to you. We're talking about you being possibly the permanent host, co-host. I don't want to say, don't want to put sidekick on there. I mean,
Dave,
you're much more than a sidekick.
I'm happy to be a sidekick. I'm happy to be the Dave Untoasted sidekick character. You know, maybe a hat at some point. Maybe I'll wear a hat, Dave.
You will. You can wear. You're not going to be one of these guys like, they have like 5 guys on the podcast, and like 2 people are in prominent positions, and then you got 2 guys, as you mentioned, kind of on the side with the ball caps. They may refer to them every once in a while if they need something to go with, but I know what you mean.
They're third chair, those guys, third and fourth chair, usually with a laptop, trying to, I think, contribute and stay in frame.
And
but,
even if they don't live with their parents, the host says they do because it sounds funny.
And they usually kind of look like it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's part of the gang, the gang of podcasting minions. And I'm happy to be I'm happy to be Ed McMahon to your Johnny.
I appreciate that sentiment. Now, we are competing, as you know, with we did do the sponsors, right?
We did, and
good.
still 1892. I still think maybe do we need some Tri-County Bank history at some point?
That would be awesome. That would be
1892.
Awesome.
That's a long time.
Yeah,
Dave.
that's some time. Well, we compete in the podcast world with people like Katy Perry, who did a podcast about Elizabeth Taylor. Kind of hard for us to compete there.
Right. I know that, Alan Alda has a podcast, I think, on like explaining science. There's a podcast pretty much about everything. Dave, there's now commercials about people talking about the fact that there's a podcast about everything. So
yes.
We're just following along in a broadcasting tradition in our little corner of the world here.
And somebody said, well, watch other podcasts. And I've probably said this on the podcast before. And so I watched Conan O'Brien with his podcast featuring Harrison Ford. And, I mean, not that I don't love you, but, I figure maybe Harrison Ford would possibly get a bigger audience than you.
Yeah. Harrison's and he's got the voice, the Harrison Ford voice. And, Conan has his minions, right? He has a couple of lackeys, and he just kind of surfs and asks questions, and somehow the sponsorship dollars just are carted in. I would say, and I would have to be corrected on this, or we need to check into on this, but I would say that Conan probably has a very loyal following that would be in the millions. Maybe, obviously wasn't enough to get him to where he needed to be on the Tonight Show for whatever reason, but I would say that he's probably got a pretty loyal following of a number of people. Absolutely. I think too, again, we're a little older, but the Conan audience that first connected with him on The Late Show, and he, kind of grew that over time, were probably the more tech savvy folks at that point to be plugging into the Conan world. So when he started doing different kind of specials with programming and this and that, he kind of took that audience with him and was able to, I think, show. And then he actually, among probably the larger broadcasters of that world, he was probably the first one to embrace podcasting, because he kind of made jokes about, every career arc dream is to go from TV to radio.
Yes.
And so, Conan, we're competing against Conan, and I think he should know that, Dave. I think if Conan's listening, and he could be, or Dave, more likely his people.
Yes.
And we want to tell them that we respect his million viewers and his Harrison Ford type guests, but we don't need that today.
No, we don't need that. Now, also, we're competing against a guy that's doing 4 podcasts a day in prison. I was going to wad up that piece of paper right now. I'm like, I mean,
you got to let that one go.
Prison.
But Dave, he's doing 4.
I guarantee you, he's doing well in prison.
Well, okay, 4 a week. I hope he's varying up the topics, right? Because 1 or 2 of those you might interview your cellmate, Dave. Talk about how to make the prison wine in your toilet. What do you? I mean, I'm sure a couple of those are going to draw some listeners.
Yeah. Okay.
But after a few weeks of 4 at a time.
Yeah. I obviously he's got a little bit of time on his hands. Now, today we have another Untoasted edition. It is one-on-one with Robbie Benson. Before we get to the movie, I did want to tell one quick story. Well, two stories. We talked about Ben's soft pretzels. They will be served at Butler basketball games this season, and I am looking forward to that. I do public address.
It's exciting, Dave.
I do public address during the game, but perhaps I can get one for a post game. I get somebody to buy me one.
You got it. Yeah, but they got to be warm. I think second half, they're probably going to be under that heat lamp a little bit.
I'm good to go. They'll hold up. If somebody buys it like mid second half, I think I'll be good.
Maybe I'll try to when I come to a game, buy one and then get it to you during the halftime lull.
We might get one of those like warming things that you can buy at the department store.
That would be nice, Dave. A nice addition to the press table, I think, would be a little warming station.
Well, it'd be from a ride home. I wouldn't eat it then. But, okay, today it's one-on-one talking about basketball, but I got a really quick story. So I'm going to a meeting where I work basketball at Butler University, okay? And I'm obviously listening to AM radio because
you should.
I want to save AM radio. So I'm listening to one of my favorite AM radio stations in Indianapolis, and it's off the air.
Okay.
Dead air.
Did you stay with it long enough? Because that's what my first instincts are. Okay, how long is this going to last?
Definitely. I stayed with it. I'm in radio. And I'm listening to the dead air, and I'm thinking, well, first, maybe it's my radio. Maybe it's where I am.
Okay, sure.
But after going to several frequencies, I realized it was not my radio. It was them. They were off the air.
Wow. So you get back, and do you hear a? Well, how did they reemerge?
Well, now here is the story, because I'm in radio, and I thought, well, perhaps they don't know that they're off the air. So,
courtesy call.
So I go online. And I'm on my phone. I got a few minutes before the meeting. So I go on my phone and I search one of the stations in the group. And I look right there on my phone, and it's like 1-555-555-4000 or something like that. And I figured, well, that's like a general line. So I'll call up and I'll probably get an answering machine, or maybe, perhaps someone that might know, somebody up front that answers the phone or anything like that. So I call the number, and ring one, ring twice, and the guy goes, hello. Well, now, I was not expecting hello. And immediately, as I do the read option, I figure that I've dialed the wrong number. I mean, I had to dial the wrong number. So he said hello. And I said, is this the, he said, hello. And I go, well, okay. I go, and I said, I'm calling for a radio station. He goes, which radio station? And I go, well, I named the radio station. He goes, well, I don't know how you got this number. I'm the chief engineer. I know we're off the air. I'm working on it right now. I'm not kidding. And then he said, how did you get this number? Like, I mean, it's like Okay. I went online and it was the first number that came up.
You might have some security issues if that was. Whoa, how did you get this number?
How did you get this number? Well, it was right there on my phone, sir. But I'm the chief engineer. I'm working on it right now. I did not expect that.
No.
That's 100 to 1.
The inside dial, Dave. You were right there.
I had no idea the power in my little phone that
Dave.
I still
right there.
I don't know why I don't know how. I'm just like, and then at that point,
you were trying to help. You were trying to help give a guy a break, like, hey, maybe nobody's listening.
And then I went immediately. I went immediately to the. Oh, I'm sorry. I went the immediate hang up. I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. Have a great day." You know, I didn't know exactly how to proceed with the conversation after that.
Right, and he's in duress, trying to get them back on the air.
Yes, he was fully aware. But
I will say, from my early radio days in the AM. Working in the city of Newcastle, Indiana, the person on the FM side was usually more experienced. And the first time that we experienced weather, which took us off the air, I ran around to the other side and this gentleman said, okay, be calm, go right back, open up your mic and let people know, tell them that you're off the air. And Dave, I proceeded to walk back, open my mic, and start that statement before I looked up and he was opening the door to watch me do it.
The best thing you can do is scream, "Am I on the air?" Because if you're on the am I on the air? Well, if you aren't on the air, they can't hear you, and if you are on the air, they've just heard you say, "Am I on the air?"
Which both. I mean, that was the least of some of the stressful periods of my on-camera learning tenure at what was then 1550 AM. I can say the call letters, Dave, because they don't exist in Indiana anymore. It was WCTW.
Wow, and you realize now at your advanced age and my advanced age that the stakes were probably not enormous.
Especially on the weekend, mid-Saturday afternoon, nothing really going on. I'm spinning the oldies and an occasional, adult contemporary. Laura Branigan followed up by some Don McLean with occasional Ray Parker Jr.,
Well, I love that. Jack and Jill. We could go on, but we're going to talk about One-on-One. It is an Untoasted. This is movie number 16, if you're keeping track, 1977. It's going to be next on the Crawfordsville Peachcast.
Bazing. Wow, that's fun to say. Bazing is Tri-County Bank's Smart Rewards checking account. With Bazing, you have cell phone protection, ID theft protection, roadside assistance, discounts at area businesses, and more. This is Bria French. Contact me or any of our great employees to begin your entry into Bazing banking. Terms and conditions may apply. Tri-County Bank, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
Crawfordsville Peachcast and another very important movie, Untoasted, One-on-One, Robbie Benson. You thought John Davidson had good hair. Robbie Benson, I got to say, it is Michael Jordan type hair.
Yeah, 70s, perfect, thick, place it on the skinny basketball player's head, give him a naive sounding voice, and let the girls fall for him accordingly.
Well, now, I did some research. I normally do not do research, but the Benson file, he was born in Dallas, Texas, 1956.
Okay.
They say he needed no double due to his basketball skills.
He could handle the ball really well, Dave. Kind of a weird shot. Kind of I don't know how to describe it. Not totally unorthodox, but his ball handling, I felt little Maravich, right?
Yes.
This era, and this was shot in 75. And what was, and this was the Western perfect season, supposedly happening in the movie. I don't want to get too far ahead, but Yeah, boy, we got a lot to talk about.
Yes, he auditioned for Luke Skywalker in Star Wars.
Ooh.
And he lost out to a guy named Mark Hamill.
Who we think was the right call now.
Probably.
Maybe. Yeah, probably.
Let's see. 91, he was the voice of the Beast in the Disney animated film Beauty and the Beast.
Yes, and I think was he possibly the Beast on Broadway? But it's wild because I think of that voice now. The voice that he had in One-on-One was much, much different.
Definitely. He married Carly DeVito in 82. They are still married. He practices transcendental meditation. Someday he'll get it right, but he practices it. I'm just kidding there.
That's a good effort, Robbie.
He's had 4 heart surgeries, and he actually wrote an original off-Broadway play called Open Heart.
Wow. Okay. Now, and we'll to bring it back to One-on-One, he first started experiencing, I think, some of these symptoms. Yeah, he was born without a third heart valve or something, and I think he had some of these symptoms while he was making this movie. Oh, sorry if that was loud. And he didn't want to tell anybody at that time because he was afraid that they would bust him and take him off the movie or quit acting or something.
And now we get back to One-on-One, Robbie Benson, Annette O'Toole, and another Godfather holdover. Although I thought he looked younger than he did in Godfather. That would be C.J. Spradling?
G.D. Spradlin.
G.D. Spradling, yeah.
Close, but Coach Moreland Smith. Not too many, I don't even think Moreland was a popular adult name in the early 70s, Dave. Moreland. Ugh. Coach Smith. He was, you think, okay, clearly the biggest basketball coaches in the world in 1975 when this movie were being made were John Wooden and Bob Knight, right? At least this is before the NBA was popular again. So, part of this is like he ends up, one of the first shots you see him in, quote, L.A., you see the Capitol Records building behind him right before Melanie Griffith gets a ride.
Yeah, that's right. Melanie
Griffith. Are we jumping ahead?
We're jumping a little bit ahead on Melanie Griffith, who plays the hitchhiker, and she gets pretty big graphic early on for somebody that only appears for a couple of minutes in the movie.
Very small role. When I saw her get in, I thought, do I know her? I should know her. And then my big thing with her scene was, Dave, was the car was stopped because it was overheated and there was all this smoke.
Yes.
And then he got back in the car and took a hitchhiker in this car, and they drive away, Dave. Now, I think as they start to drive away, I think they must have thought, we must have a little bit of smoke, because at first there was like no smoke, and then they showed some more smoke. So I was thinking, how is he driving at all if his car's overheated? But I don't even, I guess if you're going to pick up a hooker, it's best to do it when your car's overheating.
Well, and that may be, she was a hitchhiker, Dave. She was a hitchhiker.
That's true, Dave.
Okay,
she was yes, who basically, what's the right term?
I will,
embezzlement.
Yeah.
She took money from him under a pretense of she was going to yell.
Yeah, that's right. And, but it was obviously one of the early roles for Melanie Griffith. Now, it was 1977 this movie was made. They were called Western, and correct me if I'm wrong, it has nothing to do with this movie, but in 94 in Blue Chips, that college was called Western.
Exactly. Nick Nolte was the coach of Western U. Now, they went they were a blue school. This was a yellow school, but very sparse in the uniform department. I think it just kind of Western in the numbers. It was very.
On the movie poster, Dave, it says, there comes a time when love stops being a ball and starts being a woman. One-on-One, the story of a winner.
Okay. I think this was in the zone right after Rocky, where sports movies were probably considered a critical commercial, way to go. And this was a basketball version of that, which, there was, if I recall back, basketball at that time, especially because, UCLA had just come off of a 77 game winning streak. And that was 73, maybe. And
yeah, I think it was 84, but I could be wrong on that.
You're right.
Obviously,
you're
Digger Phelps made a career out of that and one Final Four appearance, but God bless his heart, that was a memorable game.
And the fact of schools being undefeated at the time was much more common. And IU was obviously undefeated throughout the regular season in 75, and then went on to the perfect season in 76.
Now the movie moves pretty quickly when Robbie Benson, he is recruited out of Colorado to play for Western. Immediately though, let's go through what happened. The first, and this is something that probably I'm trying to think of a current coach now, Bill Self. I was going to go.
Okay,
I was going to go Coach K. He's retired. I was going to go Jay Wright. He's retired. So I'll go Bill Self. I wonder when a recruit comes in to see Bill Self for the first time, I would imagine he would recognize him.
Yeah, that would be the first part. Yeah, no, very cold, right? He told Henry to come to his office as soon as he was in Los Angeles, and Henry did that. And boy, he was like, "Who are you?" He
did not recognize him. I mean, I got to think, okay, that it could happen, I suppose.
A different era, the coaches were allowed to be not connected with the players.
He got a job. He met the coach's secretary. He was assigned a dorm room and a tutor, and he found his roommate to be also on the basketball team. So, Dave, and this is one of those questions I'll let you, or one of those statements I'll let you tell me what it is, because you are the wordsmith. And he's on his way.
And he's on his way.
Not. So I don't know what that means. I mean, but he's obviously a misfit on this team from the beginning, because apparently it was a bad thing in 1977 to be a hot dog.
Yeah, no, he was a hot dog. He liked to spin the ball, dribble between his legs, make behind the back passes. And he was 5'10", and his roommate, who was also a guard, was 6'6". Some of those guys on the team look like they were in their 30s, Dave. So I don't know if that's just me. It was a weird combination, right? Because he is clearly extremely naive. At the same time, he does know that they should be cheating and paying him, right?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a weird combo, because he doesn't understand it at first. They say, "Here are your tickets," and then give them to this alumni. And then the alumni gives them $300 for each ticket, I think, which he was like, whoa. And so, immediately he realizes on the take, they arrange for him to get a new car for a graduation gift. But my big thing, Dave, on the beginning of the movie, I'm thinking about, even in 1975, wearing your high school letter jacket in college, I can't believe was encouraged. So I noticed at 30, first I wrote 28 minutes in, he's still wearing the letter jacket. Now, then I kept marking it out, Dave. We got to 50 minutes in.
Oh, you're doing the analytics here.
63, at 112, at 117, at 130, Dave, he's still wearing the letter jacket. I mean, this is California. One of these, he's outside. So that was obviously a very strong production designer choice to keep Henry in the high school letter jacket for most of the entire movie.
Well, one of my favorite lines, it was Tom and Charlie. Is it Charlie or Henry? Henry was Robbie Benson.
Yes.
Tom said, "Hey, they're eating, and they're eating at a particular restaurant. He goes, "Hey, they have Arby's in Colorado?"
I think the response is, we have all the good restaurants.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember that. I mean, but the thing of it is, in the 70s, not everybody had an Arby's, so perhaps that's legit.
I would have asked the same question growing up in Newcastle, not having an Arby's. We are in
a metropolitan city, Los Angeles, and they've got an Arby's. And hey, do you have an Arby's there in Colorado? And now I think it's, but I perhaps then that was a legit question.
Yeah, a legit question. And, and he's coming from rural Colorado, kind of, it sounds like, to Los Angeles. So, it's a big, that's the big adjustment. He's the country boy going to the big school, and they kind of set it up as the storied basketball school, right? Even though they don't really exactly look like it, but I know that's, again, we're looking at a Hollywood depiction 40 plus years ago.
Now, the basketball team is massive. I mean, how many players are on this team? I mean, even for a JV and a varsity, at my count, there were well over 30 guys on this team.
A lot of guys. He seems to be the shortest. I would have probably had a couple of others just to not make him look so, because 5'10" is not, it's not unheard of. It's not Muggsy Bogues.
No.
But he did definitely look from a height and just a body, mass standpoint, like he's the runt of the Western basketball team.
Now, this movie is about basketball, but now we will get into the Annette O'Toole part. He meets the tutor and her very charming boyfriend, who you pretty much say, yeah, it's kind of like that Hallmark thing we talked about. Definitely will soon to be ex-boyfriend, but he meets the tutor, Annette O'Toole, and you can imagine what might happen later in the movie.
Oh yeah, and it's like the classic setup of the I would say leftist anti-war college intellectual who hates jocks because they're on scholarship and he thinks they don't learn. So the fact that his girlfriend is tutoring this naive jock lets him, he basically kind of goads Henry, right? And eventually there is a scene where kind of calls him out. It looks like they're going to fight. And Annette, the tutor, basically says to her boyfriend, you're not being nice and you should leave. So she casts the boyfriend aside. Now, at this point, we know Henry is smitten with her, but we don't necessarily know if she's open to him.
Yeah. And all the while this relationship is simmering, his basketball career is going south because, again, he's a hot dog and he took some sort of drug from his great roommate, Tom. Hey, here, take this. It'll make you play better. I didn't know. I didn't know exactly where that was going to make him play better. So he's building a relationship with Annette O'Toole, but yet at the same time, his basketball career is going in the toilet.
Exactly. He impresses her because he reads Moby Dick, right? And wants to talk to her about it. And then at some point, Tom, the roommate's not a bad guy. He's just trying to help him, and he gives him an upper, and later on he says, your blood must be pure spring water, because Henry obviously is can't really control himself after he has the accelerant in his system.
And this was during a practice.
This is during a practice. So he's acting crazy in front of the coach, who already basically has told him, you're a hot dog. I made a mistake. And now you're going to, you need to renounce your scholarship because I gave you a no-cut scholarship. So that's the crux here, right? That's what we're going towards is this Bob Knight-like, bad Nevada Senator coach G.D. Spradlin going to run young Robbie off the team and, kill his dream while his parents are still back in Colorado believing.
Well, now Henry says, I am not going to give up my scholarship. I'm going to keep playing. And then the coach and the assistant coach make it even worse for Henry. Make him do sit-ups, make him do push-ups, one-on-one
game. They make him run
with,
the gym.
They bring in a guy that acts like Alex Karras, a one-on-one game there, and he's roughing him up.
Yeah, I mean, he does everything basically that would drive a college kid to say, I give up. And he won't do it. And he pays the price in not only in, the fact of what he has to go through in practice, but they cut him off financially. So he has to get a part-time job. He works a night shift at a hotel as a night clerk, and he's going to lose his tutor, right? Because the university is saying to the girl that he is our Annette O'Toole character, which is Janet, says, okay, you've been cut off. All these things had happened. And she basically says, quit. And he tells her he can't. He won't. That's who he is. And so she says, we'll do it together. Right. And by goodness, she starts going to Henry's games. Right.
And Henry he gets a chance. A player fouls out. There's an ankle injury. And all of a sudden, who would have thought when you're watching this movie, who would have thought that Henry and Janet would fall in love? And who would have thunk that Robbie Benson will be leading a team on a incredible comeback at the last part of the movie?
It was well, first of all, a little improbable. They kind of set it up like before the Western's not deep at guard. And then
they got 40 guys. There's 40 guys on this team. There must be 28 centers on this team. I don't. But they're weak. They're a little. They set it up there for us. But anyway, I'm probably looking into this too much.
No. Jomo Wade is their star, right? Jomo Jomo gets hurt, and then after Jomo fouls out, right? And then
he's four. He has four fouls at halftime. I mean, coach, you normally sit a guy when he's got two, and then when he got three of course he could have got him quick, but normally when a guy gets two fouls, they'll sit him in the first half, but perhaps not in 1975, 77.
Not here, and this is the big Western versus Tech game.
It's
we couldn't have two more generic schools than Western versus Tech, but we do. And it was the perfect season was on the line because Tech was in an upset ahead, right? They were ahead at halftime. They were ahead the whole game. So because of this crazy injury foul out situation, Henry gets to play. And he was told basically, don't shoot, don't do anything. Stay away from the ball, I think was what the coach said to him.
He was very, very mean, but Henry did not. But we don't want to give away the whole movie because we know that many people will run to watch the movie on YouTube. Couple of things that Dave did want to get into the statement that was read, that was twice uttered in the movie, all the way up with a red hot poker.
That was high. That was a very bad thing to say, I guess, in 1970, mid 70s, all the way up with a red hot poker. Now,
never use that as a question.
No. So, but it was, there was introduced by the coach, right?
Yeah.
Originally, the coach is what gave Henry this terminology, all the way up with a red hot poker. And this was during a little one-on-one moment where no one was around. And the coach basically was being honest to say, I don't like you and I really want you to leave. and Henry was basically had to take it, right? He had to take it, Dave. But this was before his big moment when Coach Smith needed him to keep his perfect season. So we there's a happy montage in there, a couple of montages with some Seals and Crofts, right? I think near the end is when we get the John Wayne, Seals and Crofts singing John Wayne, John Wayne. Not sure why, but obviously that at the time was, like the Rocky montage. They needed the montage where Henry was. I think that was the happy montage with he and Janet together
toward the end of they're playing like an outdoor pickup game now. Predictive programming. You know about predictive programming, don't you?
Tell me about it, Dave.
Okay, this is like when a movie does something and then it's like in real life, and they actually were tipped off, I guess, by some secret organization or something to put it in a movie, and then to warm us up for something that will be how can I say this? Something that will be evident to us, or something. I'm trying to say will be forced upon us. Something that will be forced upon us to kind of warm us up. Now, in the big game, there was a CBS sports banner. Did you notice that?
I did not. Good eye, Dave.
And CBS didn't do college basketball in 1977.
Oh, how about that, Dave?
I mean, they were far from it. CBS would not get the rights to the men's basketball tournament until 1982. How about that?
Okay. That is a good eye, Dave. Now, going back, I remember, I believe in the 79 final game, wasn't like Bryant Gumbel doing the open?
We could talk about announcers, but 79. Well, you're talking about the classic Bird versus Magic, Dick Enberg, Al McGuire, and Billy Packer, and Bryant Gumbel was the studio host back in that day.
Well, tell me then. Okay, so in '82, it's Brent and
Brent Musburger.
And who's working with Brent?
Well, I mean, Brent. I don't know if he had somebody in the studio with him in 1982. He probably did, and I can't remember who it was. But the main crew, Billy Packer, moved from NBC to CBS, and he worked with Gary Bender from 82, 83, 84, and then Brent took over in 85, working with Billy for a long time. And then Brent overplayed his hand, and Nance came in, and the rest, as they say, is history. Nance about 1990, 91. I forget which year. I think it was 91 that Nance took over. But anyway, we could talk about announcers. But I did notice that CBS Sports banner, and it's a blessing and a curse for me to notice this stuff. But
I love it, Dave. I love it. That is good trivia. The only thing I can say, Dave, is at one point during the movie, there's a shopping sequence where his roommate takes him, and they purchase a blue leisure suit and a shirt that I'd say that collar had to sport 3 feet each side. That was the largest collar I have seen in a movie.
2X Newhart, huh?
It is solid, but that was how that was going there. It's just quite this movie I saw at the theater, and there are things that I remember about it. And it's funny, the things that come back. What comes back the most, Dave, is the Red Hot Poker line, right? And the one-on-one scene with the guy who elbows him. Because in the movie, I remember that being a real surprise, and I was taken aback by that, right? Because he's just starting to play one-on-one, and it's not going to be good, but you don't know what's going to happen. And then wham, this guy hits him with an elbow and breaks his nose.
So what does it all mean, Dave? The movie One-on-One, 1977.
Robbie Benson wrote this with his dad. So obviously they wanted to show off his basketball skills. I think take advantage of the Rocky thing. Possibly, the UCLA IU press on college basketball then. I don't know. It's a simple story, really. Is this a great movie? I would say no, but in going, there are moments in it that definitely, and it's not a bad movie. it's just it's a movie that seems very emblematic of the times, and there are parts of it that are better than others. The Seals and Crofts, great music from that era, and seemed appropriate in this. So there's things to like about this movie. There's things to laugh at. There's things to question. But it's a movie for its time.
Well, coming up after the break, we will go over Seals and Crofts. They did do the soundtrack for One-on-One with Robbie Benson and Annette O'Toole in 1977, ahead of Robbie's work in Ice Castles, right, with Melissa Manchester.
Looking through the eyes of love, Dave.
Breaking down Seals and Crofts next on the Crawfordsville Peachcast. Central Indiana Rubber Products provides the power for you. Central Indiana Rubber Products, or CIR, keeps farm equipment and local manufacturing processes running with gaskets, belts, seals, and O-rings, among a variety of other products and services. Employee-owned and always customer-focused. Central Indiana Rubber Products, 989 West, 83 North, Crawfordsville, and at indianarubber.com. Central Indiana Rubber Products, or CIR, power for you. Dave, what fun to go over the movie One-on-One, 1977, with Robbie Benson, Annette O'Toole, and the senator from The Godfather, G.K. Sprawling, G.S. Sprawling?
G.D. I love it, though.
I got it.
G.D. Spradlin, but not a name that rolls off, but definitely he was. Yeah, those are the two movies that I can recall him in, but I know he had to be in other things as well.
Definitely had to be in more. But we know that Robbie Benson was born in Dallas, Texas. Did you know, Dave, that Seals and Crofts, Jim Seals, was born in Sydney, Texas?
I did not know that.
Dash Cross was born in Cisco, Texas.
Okay. I would not have thought them to be Texas boys. For some reason, I pictured them to be New Englanders or something.
Okay. Now, Dave, we're gonna do a little Seals and Crofts trivia here. What is their first hit out of the gate? 1972. It hit number 6. First hit.
Boy, it's going to come to me once you tell me, Dave, but no, can't tell you.
You can't hazard a guess?
Gosh, no.
I'll just say it's pretty obvious. Summer Breeze.
That's the only song I know, and I thought I was kind of letting you on there. You were helping, Dave. Summer Breeze it's that, and I would say Diamond Girl would be the two Seals and Crofts songs that come to mind. But I did not. It seemed too obvious. Summer Breeze makes me feel fine.
That's right. And it is a yacht rock song, even though it was not in the latter part of the 70s. You mentioned Diamond Girl. It was a number 6 song in 1973. 1973 also had We May Never Pass This Way Again. And also I'll Play for You. Now, they had a song that featured Carolyn Willis from Honeycomb and Bob B. Sox and the Blue Jeans. It was also a number 6 hit in 1976. What would that song be with a female?
Boy, Dave, this is good stuff.
Female part in the song. I guess I'm the only one that goes over Seals and Crofts songs like every 3 months just so I can stay current. Don't get farther away, Dave. Don't get farther away. Don't get farther away.
See, this is where I'm drawing a big blank, Dave. You got to give it to me. You just got to give it to me.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Dave.
Now, what is this would be like a game. I don't know where we are in the game show terms, but in sales, you always need a good
lead.
Well, but at the end, you need a good
close.
Okay. This is the worst game in the world. Get closer. Get closer.
Get closer.
Closer. And, and the female sings in the middle of the part.
See, that is. See, I actually, only thing I did, I looked up to see where My Fair Share landed, because in my head, it was a bigger hit than what it was. I looked it up, peaked at 28, okay, on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1977.
And they had one more hit after that, You're the Love. I won't even, I mean, there's no way, even though I can.
But that was 18. Their wheelhouse, though, was about 72 to 77. Is that?
Yes. And, okay, I'm going to ask you one more trivia question, even though I know that, I guess I live yacht rock and I live these soft rock, 70s and 80s. I live it every day. I think about them all the time. And I think that the rest of the population does this as well. But I'm coming to realize that they really don't. But what Jim Seals had a famous brother who was in a band and also was a solo artist. And who would that be?
Dave, that I can do because I, not only was on the adult contemporary side at one time, I moved over to the countryside and know that Dan Seals, who was formerly England Dan of England Dan and John Ford Coley, he went on to have a little country career. So that's how I knew about Dan and and it always made sense. Like, we couldn't use his last name because it was already taken.
That's right. And he hung out with Marie Osmond on a few songs.
Okay. See, bring it all back. Seals and Crofts, Dan Seals, one-on-one. Okay, Dave, what do you think of this movie?
Well, it was, I think it's one of the top 16 movies that I've ever seen in my life. No, we've done 16 movies. I think it's it really takes me back to the days when college basketball was more on a clipboard and a yellow pad, and that we didn't have all the technology, all the things, all the analytics, all the, when you talked about March Madness and the field of 68 or 64, about that time, maybe 48, you literally could just kind of write them out on a notepad and try to figure it out yourself. You weren't imparted with all of this knowledge of, ROS and strength of schedule or whatever. All the things. It was much simpler time. And I really enjoyed college basketball in the 70s and 80s. I love Dick Enberg and kind of the fact that there weren't games on constantly. You enjoyed the games. I knew just as much about college basketball in 1975 to 85 than I do now.
It was, the fact that there weren't so many games. The games that were on were big. We got our local games in that we got IU and Purdue right on Channel 4 so we could watch. But, this was not too far removed from the era where you did not see we didn't see the West Coast teams necessarily. We saw them, there was maybe a beginning of the year game, where you saw UCLA play somebody but you did not, it wasn't like today where and also, obviously, the colleges and the divisions within the conferences were much more regional than they'll never be again. So it was it's a much more focused time you didn't have to know as much to know a lot about probably the top 20 teams.
Yeah. And when I look at this movie, it was a simple movie and I really enjoyed it. I love the soundtrack. It was predictable, yes, but I lived that era, and you were talking about Pete Maravich, Rick Mount, even later on your buddy Steve Alford, the Magic and Larry Bird era, and it was just it's just different. I love college basketball. I've worked at it for 35 years. I'll work at it this year. It's still a great game. Love it. Love the atmosphere. Love college basketball. But I guess like with any person that gets older, you look back at those early days and they are a little sweet.
And there's some funky parts about this movie that I look back that they tried to add, like, ballet. They had those guys, we're going to show you how to do ballet. Then there's this game where they're jumping on a trampoline, trying to put a ball through it, maybe this, teams were searching for different ways outside of basketball, or how much of this was just in a movie to give you some different visuals besides watching these guys practice, kind of thing. So there were some interesting things that as I'm watching it now, I'm thinking, are any of these drills anything that anybody would do today at all? And I would say probably not, but it's a movie, that's what's fun about it is I can say, as somebody who grew up with, I did graduate from high school with and grow up with Steve Alford, and his focus, much like the character in this movie, was very much on playing basketball and getting a scholarship. And so I understand what that looks like. And I understand maybe there is a naivete about that because you have such a singular focus that for most teenagers or most young people, it is a little funky. And so, he was kind of this fish out of water, which a lot of movies use as your protagonist. So it's an interesting movie. One of the things I saw in one of the reviews, and this is a review from TV Guide, so, down the line, it says, One-on-One is an earnest, mostly believable study of the psychological study that can occur between player and coach. Okay, I'll give that. It says, handling the ball as well as he does his lines, Benson is convincing as a basketball player and young man undergoing emotional turmoil. Yeah, this movie does that.
One-on-One, 1977, the latest movie on the Untoasted list. Coming up in future episodes, Everything Must Go with Will Ferrell, and we'll do Dirty Work with Norm Macdonald. Those are on the way. David, always fun to talk movies with you and talk about other stuff as well.
I'm excited, Dave. Great movies coming up and just more Dave and Dave. So welcome to the Boomtown.
And I don't intend on going to prison to up the downloads.
Nor shall I, Dave.
No, my goal is to do this game or do this podcast, whenever, in I guess, in non-prison settings.
Right. On our free time, so to speak.
I don't want
to I will look into prison podcasts, though, to pick up any tidbits that might be applicable here to us on the outside.
But if Katy Perry or Conan O'Brien or Harrison Ford want to make a guest appearance on this show, believe me, I'll dump Dave like something that you would dump quickly. Okay.
Very fast, Dave. They don't even have to know movies.
Maybe they could come in on the Zoom cast. But anyway, we'll be there. That is the Crawfordsville Peachcast. Dave, always fun.
My pleasure, Dave.
We are presented by Tri-County Bank, your community bank since 1892, and Central Indiana Rubber Products. Hello, Todd.
Hello, Todd.
Thanks for listening to the Crawfordsville Peachcast, sponsored by Tri-County Bank, your community bank since 1892. Tri-County Bank, member FDIC, and equal housing lender. I'm Dave Peach. Join us every Thursday for a new episode on Apple or Spotify. Please like, subscribe, and download the Crawfordsville Peachcast. This podcast was produced and edited by Up There Media and is a presentation of Fork Broadcasting Digital.